I scrubbed pots. I cleaned grease traps. I hauled garbage bags out the back door of Le Jardin, one of Toronto's finest French restaurants, while men in $1,000 suits sat inside, eating meals that cost more than I made in a week. My hands were red and cracked from industrial soap. My back ached from bending over steel sinks. At 62, I was invisible, just another immigrant doing the work Canadians wouldn't do. That's what my stepson Marcus thought, anyway. I met Catherine 15 years ago at a community center in Scarborough. She was volunteering, teaching English to newcomers. I was there trying to improve my language skills, even though I'd been in Canada for 30 years. She had kind eyes and a gentle smile. Her husband had passed away 5 years earlier, leaving her with a teenage son who resented everyone and everything. Marcus was 17 when we married. He tolerated me because his mother was happy, but I could see it in his eyes. I wasn't good enough. I worked construction back then, came home with dust in my hair and cement on my boots. He'd wrinkle his nose when I walked past, like I carried the smell of poverty. When Marcus went to university, things got easier. Catherine and I had our little townhouse in North York. I worked, she worked part-time at the library. We were happy, simple, but happy. Then Marcus graduated from Rotman School of Management. Got a job at Thornhill Capital, one of Bay Street's top investment firms. Started wearing those expensive suits. Started talking about portfolios and venture capital and leveraged buyouts. Started looking at his mother and me like we were embarrassments. "Mom, you need to stop working at that library," he'd say when he came over for Sunday dinner. "It's beneath you." People at my firm, when they ask what my parents do, what am I supposed to say? That my stepfather is a janitor and my mother shelves books? Catherine would just smile and change the subject. She was proud of him. Her boy had made it. He drove a BMW, wore a Rolex, lived in a condo downtown with floor-to-ceiling windows overlooking Lake Ontario. 3 years ago, I lost my construction job. The company downsized. At 59, nobody wanted to hire me. Too old, they said. Not directly, but I could read between the lines. Catherine told me not to worry. We had savings. We'd be fine. But I couldn't sit idle. I took the dishwashing job at Les Jardins. Night shift, 5 evenings a week. The pay was terrible, but it was something. It kept me busy. Kept me from feeling useless. Marcus didn't know at first. Catherine and I decided not to tell him. Why give him another reason to look down on us? But last month, he found out. He'd taken a client to Le Jardin. Big deal he was trying to close. Multi-million-dollar investment. He needed to impress. So he booked a private dining room, ordered the tasting menu, expensive wine. I was in the back, elbow deep in soapy water, when Pierre, the restaurant manager, poked his head into the dish pit. "Thomas, we need you to bring clean plates to the private dining room." The server called in sick, and we're short-staffed. I dried my hands and grabbed the stack of porcelain plates, headed down the hallway, pushed through the door, and there he was, Marcus, sitting at the head of a long table, surrounded by men in suits. He was mid-sentence, gesturing with a wine glass, when he saw me. His face went white, then red, then purple. "What are you doing here?" he hissed. "I work here," I said quietly, setting down the plates. The men at the table looked confused. One of them, an older gentleman with silver hair, asked, "Marcus, do you know this man?" Marcus stood up so fast his chair nearly tipped over. No, I don't. He's the dishwasher." Something in his voice made my chest tight. Not the words themselves, but the tone. Like I was dirt, like I was nothing. "I should get back to the kitchen," I said. "Yes, you should," Marcus said coldly. "And maybe use the service entrance next time. You're making our guests uncomfortable." I left, went back to my sink, scrubbed pots until my hands bled. Didn't tell Catherine what happened. 2 weeks later, Marcus announced he was hosting a gala dinner at Les Jardins. His firm was celebrating its 20th anniversary. Big event. The CEO would be there. Partners, clients, everyone important in Toronto's financial scene. "You should come, Mom," he told Catherine over the phone. I could hear his voice through the speaker. "It'll be good for you to meet some influential people. Wear something nice, not from Walmart." Catherine didn't own anything from Walmart, but she didn't correct him. She just said she'd be there. "What about Thomas?" she asked. Long pause. "I don't think that's a good idea, Mom. It's a professional event." Black tie. He wouldn't fit in. "He's my husband, Marcus. And I'm your son. Please, Mom, just this once. Let me have this without him embarrassing me." Catherine looked at me. I shook my head. "It's fine," I told her. "I have to work that night anyway." That was true. I'd already been scheduled for the dish pit during the gala. Pierre had told me it would be crazy busy. Extra staff in the kitchen, extra dishes to wash. I'd be there until midnight. The night of the gala, I showed up at Le Jardin at 5, put on my stained apron, rolled up my sleeves. The kitchen was chaos, chefs yelling in French, pans clattering, steam everywhere. By 7, when the guests started arriving, I was already sweating through my shirt. I could hear the music from the dining room, see flashes of evening gowns and tuxedos when servers pushed through the swinging doors. Catherine was out there somewhere. I wondered if she was having a good time, if Marcus was being kind to her. Around 8:30, Pierre burst into the dish pit looking frantic. "Thomas, I need you to take out the garbage. The bins are overflowing and the truck comes tomorrow morning." I nodded, stripped off my gloves, grabbed the bags, hauled them through the back hallway and out the service door into the alley. The bins were indeed overflowing. I started heaving bags in, one after another. It was November, cold. My breath came out in clouds. I was on my 4th bag when I heard voices. The service door had swung open. Marcus stood there with 2 other men, all holding cigars. "We can't smoke inside," one of them was saying. "Health regulations. Ridiculous, if you ask me." Marcus lit his cigar, took a puff. Then he saw me. "Oh, for God's sake," he muttered. The other men looked over. I kept working, tossing another bag into the bin. "Who's that?" one of them asked. "Nobody," Marcus said quickly. "Just the help." But the other man kept staring. "Marcus, isn't that the same guy from last month? The one you said you didn't know?" Marcus's jaw clenched. I said, "He's the help. Can we talk about something else?" "He looks like that photo your mother showed me earlier," the third man said. "The one from your wedding. Isn't that your stepfather?" My hands froze on a garbage bag. Marcus took a long drag from his cigar. "He is, technically. But as you can see, he's not really family. He's more of an embarrassment my mother insists on keeping around." The words hit me like a fist to the stomach. "Marcus, that's harsh," one of the men said, sounding uncomfortable. "Is it?" Marcus turned to face me fully. "Tell them what you do for a living, Thomas. Tell these gentlemen about your illustrious career washing dishes." I straightened up slowly, looked him in the eye. "I work honest work." "Honest," Marcus repeated with a laugh. "Is that what you call it? My mother could have married anyone. A lawyer, a doctor, another teacher. Instead, she married you, a man who peaked at manual labor, and now washes dishes for minimum wage. Do you know how that makes me look? Do you know what people say when they find out?" "Marcus, let's go inside," one of the men said, clearly uncomfortable now. "No, I want him to hear this," Marcus continued. "I want him to understand. He's been dragging my mother down for 15 years, living in our house, eating our food, pretending to be something he's not. That's enough," I said quietly. "It's not enough." His voice was rising now, echoing off the alley walls. "You're a leech, a parasite. You latched onto my mother because she was kind and lonely, and you've been bleeding her dry ever since. If you had any dignity, any self-respect, you'd leave. You'd let her find someone worthy of her." The service door opened again. Catherine stepped out, her face pale. "Marcus," she said, her voice shaking, "what are you doing?" "I'm telling the truth, Mom. Something you should have done years ago." She walked over to me, took my arm. "We're leaving." "You're not going anywhere," Marcus said. "This is my event, my night. He can leave. He's just the help anyway. No one will notice if the dishwasher disappears. I'm your mother, and he's my husband." "He's a nobody," Marcus shouted. "A failed immigrant who couldn't make it in this country and settled for scraps. That's who you chose over Dad's memory. That's who you... Marcus! A new voice, sharp and commanding. We all turned. A man in his late 60s, impeccably dressed, stood in the doorway. I recognized him from photos in the business section of the Toronto Star. Richard Davidson, CEO of Thornhill Capital. Mr. Davidson, Marcus stammered, his cigar dropping from his fingers. I heard what you were doing, Davidson said coldly. He walked toward us, his shoes clicking on the wet pavement. I came out here to have a private word with you about your upcoming promotion, but instead, I find you verbally abusing this man. Your stepfather, I believe? Marcus's face went from red to white. Sir, you don't understand. I understand perfectly, Davidson cut him off. He turned to me. Mr. Bennett, isn't it? I blinked. Yes, sir. I thought I recognized you, though you look different without the suit. He extended his hand. Richard Davidson. I believe we've met before, though it's been several years. I shook his hand, confused. I'm sorry, sir. I don't remember. The Harbor Club, he said. About 8 years ago. You were dining with James Whitmore. We had a brief conversation about commercial real estate development. The memory clicked. James Whitmore, my lawyer. We'd been celebrating the closing of a particularly complex deal. I'd been wearing a suit that night, not the stained work clothes I had on now. Marcus was staring at us, his mouth open. Davidson kept talking. You were remarkably humble about your portfolio, if I recall. Refused to discuss numbers even when I pressed. You said something that stuck with me. Money is just a tool. How you use it determines your worth. I remember now, I said quietly. Would you mind if I asked you a question? Davidson said. Are you the same Thomas Bennett who owns this building? Catherine gasped. Marcus made a strangled sound. Yes, I said simply. And the building next door? The one housing that new tech startup? Yes. And the Bennett Holdings portfolio? The one that includes significant commercial properties across the Greater Toronto Area? Yes. Davidson nodded slowly, then turned to Marcus. Your stepfather, Marcus, is one of the largest private commercial real estate holders in Toronto. His portfolio was valued at approximately $43 million the last time I checked, though I suspect it's grown since then. Marcus swayed like he might faint. But that's not the interesting part, Davidson continued. The interesting part is what I discovered while reviewing our firm's investor list this afternoon. Mr. Bennett, you're listed as an anonymous investor in Thornhill Capital. Have been for 6 years. Third largest shareholder, if I'm not mistaken. I nodded. James handled the paperwork. I prefer to keep my investments private. Indeed. Which makes what I'm about to say rather awkward. Davidson's expression hardened as he looked at Marcus. You see, Marcus, as a shareholder, Mr. Bennett has certain privileges. One of them is the ability to request information about personnel. This afternoon, I received a call from his lawyer. Apparently, someone at this firm has been conducting themselves in a manner unbefitting our company values. Sir, I can explain, Marcus started. I'm not finished, Davidson said. The complaint included concerns about an employee who belittles family members, treats service workers with contempt, and generally demonstrates the kind of character we cannot afford to have representing Thornhill Capital. He pulled an envelope from his jacket pocket. This is your termination notice, Marcus. Effective immediately. Security will pack up your desk tomorrow morning. Your access to our systems has already been revoked. You can't do this, Marcus whispered. I've been with you for 5 years. I've brought in millions. You've brought in deals, Davidson interrupted. But you clearly haven't learned the most important lesson in business. Relationships matter more than transactions. And how you treat people when you think no one important is watching tells me everything I need to know about your character. He turned back to me and Catherine. Mrs. Bennett, I apologize that you had to witness this. Please, enjoy the rest of the evening as my personal guests. I'll have Pierre set you up in the private dining room with our finest courses. That's very kind, Catherine said softly, but I think we'd like to go home. Davidson nodded. I understand. Thomas, I hope you'll call me next week. I'd like to discuss some investment opportunities. It's rare to find someone with both your business acumen and your values. He shook my hand again, nodded politely to Catherine, and walked back inside without another glance at Marcus. The alley went silent except for the hum of the restaurant's exhaust fans. Marcus stood there, the envelope clutched in his hand, his face twisted with disbelief and rage. "This isn't fair," he finally said. You've been lying to us, pretending to be poor while you're actually rich. What kind of person does that? The kind who wanted to know if people would respect him for who he is, not what he has," I said quietly. "Respect you?" Marcus's laugh was bitter. "You're a fraud. You let Mom think we were struggling. You worked as a dishwasher when you could have been." "I worked as a dishwasher because I wanted to," I said. "Because after 30 years of business deals and investments and meetings, I wanted to do something simple, something honest, something that reminded me where I came from." "You came from nowhere," Marcus spat. "I came from Romania," I corrected. "I came here with $300 in my pocket and a willingness to work harder than anyone else. I cleaned offices at night and studied English during the day. I saved every penny for 3 years until I could afford my first property, a rundown building in Parkdale that everyone said was worthless. I took a step closer to him. I fixed it up myself, learned plumbing, electrical work, carpentry, rented it out, saved again, bought another property, then another. For 25 years, I built something, not by stepping on people or treating them like they're beneath me, by working, by respecting everyone from the bank CEO to the janitor, because I'd been both." "Then why hide it?" Marcus demanded. "Why not tell us?" "Because your mother didn't marry me for my money," Catherine said, speaking for the first time since Davidson left. Her voice was steady now, though tears streamed down her cheeks. "She married me because I made her laugh. Because I listened when she talked about her day at the library. Because I remembered she liked lilacs and planted them in our garden. Because I loved her son, even when he made it clear he didn't want me around." I turned to Catherine. "I'm sorry I didn't tell you about the money. I should have, but I was afraid. I was afraid you might see me differently, that it might change what we had." She shook her head, smiling through her tears. "You foolish man. Do you really think I didn't know?" I stared at her. "What? Thomas? We've been married for 15 years. I've seen the statements from James. I've heard you on phone calls about properties and tenants and investments. I've known for a long time, but you never said anything. Because you clearly needed to feel like you were just Thomas. Just a man who worked hard and loved his family, not some wealthy landlord. And I loved you enough to let you have that." Marcus made a disgusted sound. "This is insane. You're both insane." "No," Catherine said, turning to her son. "What's insane is how you've treated Thomas, how you've treated me, telling me what I should wear, where I should work, who I should be friends with. You've been trying to control our lives for years, Marcus. Tonight was just the first time Thomas fought back. I was trying to help you," Marcus said, but his voice lacked conviction. "You don't understand what it's like at my level. The people I deal with, they judge you based on appearances, on connections, on whether you treat the dishwasher with respect," I finished. "That's what Mr. Davidson judged you on tonight. And you failed." Marcus crumpled. The envelope fell from his hands. He sank down onto a plastic milk crate, head in his hands. "I've lost everything," he whispered. "My job, my career, my reputation. Everyone at Thornhill will know why I was fired. I'll never work on Bay Street again." "You've lost what you never should have valued in the first place," I said. "But you haven't lost everything. Not yet." He looked up at me, his eyes red. "Your mother still loves you," I said. "I can see it. Even after everything you've said and done. That's something you can't buy or earn with a fancy job. That's something you're given, freely, by people who choose to care about you despite your flaws." I held out my hand. "You can lose that too, if you keep going the way you've been going, or you can learn from this. Change. Become the kind of man your mother hoped you'd be when she sent you to university." Marcus stared at my outstretched hand like it was a foreign object. Catherine stepped forward. "Baby, you need help. You've been so focused on money and status and impressing people that you've forgotten how to be kind. Come home with us tonight. We'll talk. Really talk. Figure out what comes next." "I can't," Marcus said, but he was crying now. "I'm so ashamed. The things I said to you, to Thomas, I don't know how to take them back." "You can't take them back," I said, "but you can do better going forward. That's all any of us can do." He looked at my hand again, hesitated. Then, slowly, he reached up and took it. I pulled him to his feet. He was taller than me by 3 inches, younger by 30 years, but in that moment he seemed small, lost. "Thank you," he whispered. "Don't thank me yet," I said. "You've got a long road ahead. Finding a new job won't be easy. Rebuilding your reputation will take years. And you'll have to face the fact that you destroyed your own career through arrogance and cruelty." "I know. But," I continued, "if you're willing to do the work, really do the work, I'll help you. Not with money. You'll need to earn your own way. But with advice, connections, a reference, eventually, when you've proven you've changed." Catherine took both our hands. "Let's go home," she said. "All of us." We left through the service entrance, the 3 of us walking through the alley to the parking lot. Behind us, I could hear the gala continuing, music and laughter spilling out into the cold Toronto night. Marcus stopped at his BMW. "I should probably sell this," he said, looking at it like he was seeing it for the first time. "The payments are ridiculous." "Probably," I agreed. He laughed, a broken sound. "What am I going to do, Thomas? First, you're going to come to Sunday dinner at our house. Every week. Not when it's convenient. Every week. Okay. Second, you're going to apologize to every person you've treated poorly. The servers at restaurants. The janitors at your condo. Anyone you've looked down on because you thought their job made them less than you. That's going to take a while." "Good. You've got time now. What else?" I thought for a moment. "You're going to volunteer somewhere. A soup kitchen, maybe. Or a community center helping newcomers, like your mother used to do. Somewhere you can remember that status isn't the same as worth. And then you figure out who you want to be. Not who you think you should be to impress people. Who you actually want to be when you look in the mirror." We drove home in 2 cars, Catherine with me, Marcus following behind in his BMW. The townhouse was dark when we pulled up. Catherine unlocked the door and turned on the lights. "I'll make tea," she said. Marcus and I sat at the kitchen table, the same table where he used to do his homework as a teenager, where we'd had countless awkward dinners in those early years. "Can I ask you something?" Marcus said. "Of course." "Why dishes? Of all the things you could have done, why wash dishes at a restaurant?" I considered the question. When I first came to Canada, my first job was washing dishes at a diner in Mississauga. It was honest work. Hard work. The chef there, a woman named Maria, she treated me with kindness, taught me English phrases, made sure I ate a proper meal during my break. She didn't care that I was an immigrant or that I barely spoke the language. She cared that I showed up on time and did my job well. I looked at Marcus. I wanted to remember that feeling. Remember what it was like to be at the bottom, to be invisible, so I'd never forget to treat people the way Maria treated me. "I've never been at the bottom," Marcus said quietly. "Not really. Mom made sure I had everything I needed. And then some. I know. And that's partly my fault. I should have insisted you work during high school, learn what it means to earn $1. But I was trying so hard to be the opposite of the cruel stepfather from fairy tales that I went too far the other way." Catherine brought over 3 mugs of tea. We sat in silence for a while, sipping and thinking. Finally, Marcus spoke. "I don't know if I can change. What if this is just who I am?" "You're 35, I said. "You have decades ahead of you. People change every day. The question isn't whether you can, it's whether you will." He nodded slowly. "I'll try. That's all I ask." Catherine reached across the table and took both our hands. "This family has been broken for a long time," she said. "Maybe tonight is when we start putting it back together." Over the following months, I watched Marcus rebuild his life. He sold the BMW, moved to a modest apartment in Etobicoke, started volunteering at a food bank 3 evenings a week, sent handwritten apology letters to people he'd wronged. It wasn't easy for him. There were setbacks, days when the bitterness crept back in, when he complained about his circumstances or blamed others. But slowly, gradually, he changed. He got a job at a smaller investment firm, lower pay but steady. Started dating a social worker who challenged him when he slipped into old patterns. Showed up for Sunday dinners every single week, even when he was tired or busy. One Sunday, about 6 months after the gala, he brought a newspaper to dinner. "I saw this," he said, sliding it across the table. It was an article about affordable housing initiatives in Toronto. My company, Bennett Holdings, was mentioned as a major donor. "That's your money," Marcus said. "You could be making higher returns on luxury condos. But you're building affordable units instead." "Yes." "Why?" "Because I remember what it was like to struggle to find a decent place to live. To be treated like my rent didn't matter because I wasn't wealthy. I can't fix all the problems in this city, but I can fix some of them." Marcus stared at the article for a long time. "I want to help," he finally said. "How?" "I don't know yet. But there has to be something I can do. Some way I can use what I know about finance to make things better instead of just making myself richer." That was the moment I knew he'd really changed. Not the apologies or the volunteering or the modest apartment. The desire to use his skills for something beyond his own advancement. "We'll figure it out," I told him. And we did. Marcus started working with community organizations, helping them understand complex financial documents, applying for grants, managing budgets. It wasn't glamorous. It didn't pay well. But he was good at it, and it mattered. 2 years after the gala, Catherine and I were having coffee in our kitchen when Marcus let himself in with his key. "I have news," he said, grinning. "Good news?" Catherine asked. "I got engaged." She squealed and hugged him. "To Sarah?" "To Sarah." They talked about wedding plans, about how Sarah had proposed during a weekend hike, about how they were thinking of a small ceremony at a community center. Then Marcus turned to me. "I have something to ask you." "What's that?" "Will you walk me down the aisle? At the wedding?" I felt my eyes fill with tears. "Your mother should—" "Mom will walk with us," he said. "Both of you. If you'll do it." "Of course," I said. "Of course I will." The wedding was simple and beautiful. Marcus wore a suit he'd bought at a department store, not a luxury boutique. Sarah's family welcomed us warmly. The ceremony was held at the same community center where Catherine used to teach English classes, where Marcus now volunteered. When it came time for the vows, Marcus spoke about learning what really mattered, about how the person standing beside him had helped him become someone he could respect, about how family wasn't just blood, but choice. He looked right at me when he said, "I'm grateful for the people who loved me enough to let me fail, to let me fall and hit bottom so I could learn to climb back up." After the ceremony, during the reception, Richard Davidson approached me. "I heard through the grapevine that Marcus is doing well," he said. "He is. Thank you for asking. What you did that night, standing there and taking his abuse without retaliating, that took remarkable restraint. I was angry," I admitted. "I wanted to put him in his place. But you didn't. You let the truth do it for you. That's wisdom." He paused. "I also heard he's been working with affordable housing organizations." "He has. Thornhill Capital has been looking to expand our community investment portfolio. Would Marcus be interested in coming back?" "Different role, of course. Community development liaison. It would involve working with nonprofit organizations, helping them access capital for housing projects." I smiled. "You'd have to ask him yourself, but I think he'd be very interested." Davidson did ask. Marcus accepted. He's been in that role for 3 years now, helping secure funding for projects across the Greater Toronto area. He makes less than he did as an investment banker, but he comes to dinner every Sunday with stories about families moving into safe, affordable homes, about communities being revitalized, about making a difference. Last month, Catherine retired from the library. We threw a small party. Marcus and Sarah were there with their newborn daughter. My daughter Jennifer flew in from Vancouver with her family. As I looked around our crowded living room, watching my family laugh and talk and share a meal, I thought about that night in the alley, about how close we came to losing each other completely. Marcus caught my eye and raised his glass. I raised mine back. Some lessons cost everything to learn. Some transformations require hitting rock bottom first. But the people who make it back up, who do the hard work of changing who they are at their core, those are the people worth believing in. I still work at Le Jardin one night a week. Pierre thinks I'm crazy, but he stopped arguing. I like the rhythm of it, the simple satisfaction of clean dishes stacking up, the reminder that no honest work is beneath anyone. Last week, a young server dropped a stack of plates. They shattered across the kitchen floor. He looked terrified, expecting to be yelled at. I helped him clean up the pieces, told him it happens to everyone, asked if he was okay. He looked at me like I'd given him a gift instead of just basic human decency. That's when I knew why I keep doing this work. Not because I need the money or because I'm trying to prove something, but because kindness matters. How we treat people when we have nothing to gain from being kind, that's what defines us. Your worth isn't measured by your bank account, or your job title, or how many people know your name. It's measured by how you treat the dishwasher in the alley when you think no one important is watching. Because someone is always watching. And more importantly, you're watching yourself. You have to live with the person you become. Make sure it's someone you can respect.